Hello, we have the perfect audience here today. Today I would just like you to imagine, let's say you're a senior in high school, which all of you are, and just imagine you've gone to school every single day. Of course, you've missed a couple of days here and there, you've become sick and you weren't able to go to school, but you've come to school the very next day and you've gotten your makeup work. You've done everything that it takes to be able to earn those good grades that you've gotten throughout your high school years. You know everything that they want you to learn. You know all the math. You know everything about science, the periodic table and everything like that. You know about history. You know how to calculate the area of certain different things. Anything that you need to know, that they've taught you. But what about things such as paying your taxes? What about knowing how to choose what insurance will be best for you? What about things such as paying your bills? You don't know about these things. School hasn't taught you this. Yes, they've taught you about everything that you're going to need to know to be able to get into college, and you're going to need to know to be able to be successful in college. But what about everything else? Everything that you're going to need to know to be a functional adult in society. And so today, what I would like to talk to you about is if high schools should have a mandatory life lessons class. By what I've said so far, I believe it is clear to see that I am on the side saying that yes, high school should have a mandatory life lessons class. And today I would like to discuss, first off, things that schools aren't teaching you and why they should be teaching you these things and how they can be beneficial to you. Then I would like to discuss what sort of differences the mandatory class would have other than just being about life lessons. So that when you graduate, you know everything that you need to know to be functional in society. You know everything else. And then I would also like to discuss how these things can also be beneficial in college, in your college life, when you go to college. So to start it off, some of the things that high school doesn't teach you, of course, are about filing your taxes, paying your taxes, bills, things about insurance, just the basics that you need to know to be able to be functional within society. And the reason why they should teach this is for one point being because of students that aren't planning on going to college. I have learned that there are some colleges out there that do have these sort of classes that you can participate in, take to be able to learn these sort of basics of becoming a functional adult in society. But what about the students who aren't planning on going to college after school, or the students who don't have the money to be able to financially support themselves in college and who aren't able to get any loans or grants or anything like that? What about for them? One way a mandatory life lessons class in high school can be beneficial is for these students right here. We'll get into later on how it can be beneficial to college students as well. But let's first talk about students who aren't planning on going to college. They just graduated high school. They're out there in the real world. They're on their own. They don't know what to do. They, of course, want to be independent from their parents. They don't want to have to rely on their parents for information on how to do things. They don't want to have to constantly keep asking them, how do I take care of this? How do I do this? What am I supposed to do if I'm in this situation? If we had mandatory life lessons classes in high school, they would already know all of this. They would understand it all. They would know what to do. If not everything, they will understand at least the basics so that they can start out and then build on top of that. And then next, how will the mandatory classes be different from the rest of the classes, other than just they're not all about math, science, history, anything like that? How it will be different is by the grading system. That's the main thing I want to discuss right now. But first, let's talk about the similarities. Of course, in every single class, you're going to be looking forward to quizzes, tests, worksheets to do in class, homework, everything like that. And this is something that's going to be inside, that is of course going to be in this class. But one thing is, the teacher can fill out the tests and form them to how they need it to be, to test over to see if the student has gotten what they have gone over, because they know everything they have gone over within the class, so they can customize the test to fit. And also on top of that, these classes won't require anything such as standardized testing. So the teacher doesn't have to worry about teaching the kids what is going to be on the standardized test. How it will be different though is that the testing is mainly going to be about if the students get it. These students are not going to need this knowledge for another class in the upcoming year and another class in college. These students are going to need this information to be able to function in society, to be able to be independent from anybody, to be able to be on their own, live on their own. That is the main difference right there. And then finally, I would like to discuss how it's also beneficial for college students. Like I've said before, there are some colleges that offer classes to be able to learn these things, but not all colleges offer this. There can be students that would go to college. They, of course, they still want to be independent from their parents as well, and they don't know this. They're in college. They're on their own. Let's say if they go into another state too. They won't be able to rely on their parents. They're not always going to have their parents living nearby, living in the same state. And they may not be able to get a hold of them over the phone. This can cause them a lot of stress because on top of that, they have to worry about all their college work, their college assignments, tests, anything like that they have to get done. And then they have to throw in these basic life situations that they haven't learned about in high school. They don't know anything about this. So they just have to learn on their own, and this can cause them a lot of stress and anxiety and just be horrible for them, hard on them. I hope that today I have successfully talked to you about things that high schools don't teach, they neglect to teach us when we're going through high school. How the classes will be different, such as a mandatory life lessons class. I hope that I've successfully told you about how even college students can benefit from this sort of thing.